What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Plastic Underground. We're back in the game room, and last thing you saw was this orange shelf. It's over there. It's on this wall, so it's on this wall, but on this side. So for this video, I'm showing you how I mounted an old TV in this wall so I can have a display. On the other side of this wall, I have a Google Chrome plugged into the TV, and I can connect my phone to the Google Chrome. And I also made a video. It's all these NX01 displays, computer screens and stuff, and that's on my channel, so you guys can use it. It's like 2 hours long or something. So yeah, so check this out. So this is a screen. This is kind of based on the NX01 computer panels and stuff, and I actually was able to wire some of these old keycaps into this display, so check it out. So there you go. So that's my video. It's on my channel, and it kind of just goes through all these different like cool computer screens and stuff. And I think this looks pretty great over here on the wall. It's a permanent thing. I can also play videos, and when we have game nights, I can put like movies or videos on, and just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of cool. This is all EVA foam, and you know, what's funny is all the things that I've like done down here, for whatever reason, this was the most challenging. It's funny how that works out sometimes. But yeah, let me show you how I made this, and maybe it'll give you some ideas. The scariest part about this build was that after I put all this sheetrock up and I got all the wall painted, I had to cut a hole in it, and you get one shot. I mean, you could reframe and, you know, whatever, but it was pretty nerve-wracking. So yeah, let me show you how I made it.
Train to the Plastic Underground. Approaching the station. Please stand away from the platform head. Alright, so here is the TV that I'm going to be using. This is just an old TV that I've had laying around. For whatever reason, I have been accumulating TVs. When people like move or get new TVs, I take the old ones, and now I'm using them. So that'll make my wife happy, because she always rolls her eyes whenever I pick up a new TV when I have like 4 of them. So there you go. All I did is I just kind of took all the screws out of that, and just took all the framing off, and you're left with this pretty good shell unit of the TV. You can see my apprehension here, because I spent all this time sheetrocking and taping and mudding and then painting. And now I'm gonna put a big hole in the middle of it. So, like I said, you get one shot at this. This is this has to be pretty accurate. So I measured this a few times, and then I'm just using a just a razor blade here and just following my line. You can see I cut individual lines like multiple times to score it until I cut all the way through, just to make sure it's pretty straight. Push that through and then go through on the back side to remove it. kind of putting the TV up for the first time to see if it fits. And it does. It fits perfectly. So the way I supported this is I put this piece of wood backer in here. And so the TV frame basically sits on top of that wooden frame. And then the other cool thing is that through these actual mounting holes for the frame of the TV is where that piece of wood is. So I was able to just put some screws through the TV frame into that piece of wood. So this TV will never move. It'll never go anywhere. Now onto the new frame. I'm just using some floor mat foam because that's what I have readily available and laying around. And yeah, it's pretty easy stuff to work with. So I just kind of measured and made up this frame here. And I am basing this on the Enterprise, the NX01 from Enterprise style panels. So I got some old keycaps here. I have like a black keyboard and a white and gray keyboard that I pull all these caps from. The switches are 3D printed, and those are from a file I found on Thingiverse for the actual Star Trek switch panels for like the original series. So I'm just using some 1mm foam here, and I'm cutting out the inside of this panel here, and this is where those switches will go. Yeah, so there is the switches going in the little panel there. When I glue these in later, I will flip a few of these around so that some of them look like they are switched on, just so they're not all one piece there. So they're a little different. They're different colors now just because you use different resin to print these, but these are pretty good files, and I will be using them a lot down in the basement for panels and anytime I need switches and stuff. So yeah. So now I'm just contact cementing this panel on the other panel. Then I'm punching a hole in the side here so that my screw can just basically just push inside the foam. I like adding real screws when I can, just to give it that extra like authentic like look and feel. It obviously doesn't like do anything structural for it. It doesn't hold that panel in place, but it helps add that look of like actual manufactured like hardware panels and stuff. And now I'm going through and I'm cutting out some holes here. I kind of went through and pre-marked where all these switches and basically these keycaps are going to go. And there's a lot of holes here, so I just cut those out. The keycaps here on the bottom will not like function as a switch, so I just cut out a little bit of foam so that the stems of the switches will fit in place. And I also thought this would give it a good like look like there's multiple buttons on here. Even though I just used the top row, I wanted it to look like there is multiple sections of buttons that you could push. Now for the switches here, I just went through and I painted them all different colors to kind of match that TOS feel. These are all TOS colors except for that orange. The orange is the same orange that I've used on all of my pads and my bench and everything. So I wanted to kind of incorporate that color a little bit into this panel. I thought that would be fun. So now I'm just using my blade here and I'm just going through and scoring in some lines just to give it some cool panel lines here. Then I go through and use the heat gun, and that separates the foam where you cut it with your blade, and that gives a really good panel line. So I bought this set of wires on Amazon. This is like the smallest gauge you can find. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what it is. I want to say it's like 30. I think like the higher the number, the smaller the gauge of wire. So yeah, but I've used these for lots of stuff. I even use these in the stairs for wire and LEDs for my stairs in the basement. And yeah, I just solder these in place here before I kind of realized that this isn't working out. I did a lot of trial and error with this electrical stuff, and even to this point, like, it works. But the really weird thing is, like, if I leave that motherboard plugged into the TV, like, over time, it the switches won't work. So I don't really understand what's going on with it, but for the amount that I actually use it, I just unplug the motherboard, and then if I need to control the channels or anything, I plug the board in. So yeah, I don't know. I don't understand why that happened. So yeah, but it works. It works, and it is pretty cool to be able to push the buttons on the front of this panel. And yeah, I mean, you could also just use a remote for it, but I don't have a remote for this TV, so obviously just use a remote if you don't want to do all this extra steps of making your own keys and switches. Yeah. But the other thing I am adding to this panel here is these recessed little panel lines here. On the Enterprise panels, I don't know if these are screens or if they're just marked. Like the special department is marked on here, but I'm just using a reference image that I found just to kind of duplicate what I saw in that picture. So after those are all cut out, then I go through and I seal this panel with Plasti-Dip, and then I spray it with a gray primer, and that is basically the color that it stays. Because a lot of stuff on the Enterprise was just gray primer. So then I can go ahead and glue these switches in place here, and I can glue these other switches in place here. The panel around the colorful switches over there gets painted a darker gray just to have it stand out later on. I don't think it's like that in the final version that you see, but just know that I did paint that panel so it's a different gray, and it helps separate those switches a little bit. This is some vinyl I cut out. This adds the auxiliary markings and cool stuff. You've seen me use these a long time ago on a Enterprise Wallcom switch box that I made for Will for his bathroom. But now I finally get to add one of these to my room, and just using some different color vinyl just to add some stickers. So this gets a little red sticker here, and then there's some white lettering that goes on top of it. This is the stuff that really helps. Like, even though like I used foam and other like found parts, this to me, like, the vinyl and lettering is the part that really separates it and makes it look more realistic and manufactured. So for these panels here, these are also some bright colors. So again, I'm just using some vinyl and just sticking these like in place here. Then I use my ruler just to smooth and force the sticker flat. So this other one, same thing, just using some of this orangish yellow color here. And then this strip of yellow gets stuck onto the bottom.
Okay guys, so this is probably easier for me to explain on the bench instead of a voiceover. So here it goes. So I've ran into a lot of issues with the switches for the TV. I don't know what happened. At first I had all these keycaps wired up, and they would work like fine on the TV. And then for whatever reason they stopped working in the TV. Like, I would plug this switchboard into the TV and like a couple buttons would like stay on. And I've used these keycaps from a keyboard before for, like, you know, momentary switches. My working theory at the moment is that I either got these too hot while soldering and ruined the component on the inside, or there's too much electricity that flows through these tiny little copper boards where, like, this contact isn't enough contact to engage the switch. So these keys stopped working, and so what I did to troubleshoot that is, you can see the power button. These are like your channel volume switches. The power switch was here. I removed it and rewired it in place. The actual switch, and worked totally fine. So I knew the board wasn't bad. I knew the switches still worked. So I thought about, like, just getting rid of the keycaps, just putting regular switches in, so at least I could still control the TV, turn it on and off. But I wasn't happy with that. I really like the key switches. I really like the way they look. And the frame is already fit for keys specifically. So, because I'm a glutton for punishment sometimes, I went on Amazon and I found this. I just typed in, like, tiny switches. This was like $14, and it comes with, like, just like a ton amount of switches, like some really, really tiny ones and some bigger ones. And I mean, I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. Like, I'm always needing switches for LEDs and lights and even like dioramas and stuff. I mean, being able to wire one of these onto like a diorama with a little tiny, I mean, I don't know. I should have done this a lot sooner. But these are, you know, a lot of these are meant for like replacing stuff. These are like tiny little switches and stuff. And these look really cool just on their own, in my opinion. Just like, that's a cool, like, push button. But anyway, I I took the keycap apart. So what you got here is this is the top of the key, and then the key part down here is all like one piece like that, but it actually comes apart into two pieces. So you have like this piece here and this piece here clips in together. And there is a push button which goes in here like that. It's like a push peg. This is where the key actually clips into the top of that. And then there's a spring that goes in here on this post, and then all of the electronic parts. So this is like your actual like switch, and I think like pushing the keycap activates this, pushes these two metal pieces to touch. So again, like I said, I think it's just not enough contact or whatever for the switches. So I got rid of the internal stuff, got rid of the spring, and what I did is I took the peg post, get this off. I took the normal peg post here and I trimmed it. So you can see, I trimmed it. I trimmed the post and I trimmed the inside little peg. So what that allows me to do is to take one of these little switches here. This is a little bit smaller than this was the one from the original switchboard. This one is a little bit smaller. And so what that allows me to do now is it allows this to fit in here on the very bottom of the base. And it gives me enough clearance now that this is trimmed, where this now will go on top. And when you push the key in, it activates the switch. So all I have to do is just kind of wire these through here. These originally have a little hole where the stem comes out anyway, so that I just use the same thing. So I will wire all my wires out of there, rebuild these switch caps together, and then just rewire them through like I originally had. So it allows me to keep the same setup that I had. I just add my own switches to the board. So that's really all I did. It took me a long time to come up with that solution for some reason, but I knew I didn't want to get rid of the keycaps. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to desolder all of these switches and then rebuild all these caps, put them all on the TV, and then rerun the lines to the board. I think that's it. The other thing I bought too is something that I should have bought a long time ago. This is, I forget what they call it. It's copper wick, solder wick. It's literally just like braided copper. And you put this on, it's for like boards and electrical stuff, like boards specifically. So you would put this on here and you hit it with your soldering iron and it sucks the solder into the wire off the board. I can show, I got my soldering iron set up, so I'll just kind of show you. And I've never used this stuff before, and I've seen it used and finally bought some. So, for instance, if you just heat this up, it should suck the solder off the board into the copper. Yeah, there you go. The soldering iron I have is not the best soldering iron, and I'm also not a great wire solder, so I could be doing this completely wrong, which I probably am. Soldering is one of those things that I like to do if it works, and if I'm struggling to get the wire to clip on, it's just super frustrating. But so if you can see, the difference between like this one, and this one. It did take a lot of solder off. So theoretically, you should be able to just now, yeah. So that's the point of the copper wick. It gets rid of all that solder. So now your switch is off. You don't have to like heat up, especially because these are 4 pegs. So normally you could just heat up. You use your soldering iron, just heat up both pegs, get the solder hot, and then these would just pop off. But since there's so many contacts, it's kind of a pain. So yeah, there you go. So like I said, and these are still good, so these can go back in the box. So yeah, I'm gonna rebuild all these, and then I'll see you guys over at the TV when I rewire all these to the board. It's pretty dark over there, so you don't really see what I'm doing, but yeah, try to make it work.
So yeah, I feed all those wires through the this little gap between the TV and the sheetrock to the back, and then I just solder it all to this panel here. This is like the motherboard that controls the all the operational like switches and stuff. So I plug that in to the TV, and now I can test and make sure that it is working. And like I said, it totally works at this point. Like all the buttons work and everything is really good. But if I leave it like plugged in overnight, then it won't work. So I don't know if like the board gets hot and shuts off, or if something is yeah, so like there's a positive feed touching somewhere. I don't know what's going on, but it's weird. And I tried to troubleshoot it like a ton, and I ended up just being happy with just leaving it unplugged. So yeah. But then I just used some hot glue just to glue this panel to the sheetrock. I didn't want to like permanently affix this to the wall with like screws or anything, so I just used some hot glue and glued it around the TV. And there you go. You can see I'm going through all the buttons, making sure they all work, and they do. So the other thing I did is I just rewired the LEDs from the board. So these LEDs will show like if there's power to the board. Yeah, so there's a red one and a green one, and I just use my drill to drill those through, and then solder the LEDs in place there. So that's it. That's all the stuff. All right. Yeah, that is it. That's how I put together this cool little TV for the basement.
So there you go. That's how I made this MX-01 screen wall mount. I hope that you picked up some things you can use, and I hope some of my learning curves helps you guys out in the future if you're putting a TV in a wall. It's actually really not that complicated, just to mount the TV to the wall, and put a frame around it. And I think it's a great addition down here. There's a couple other spots I would like to put little TVs and displays and stuff, so it always looks like there's videos or animations running. But yeah, this is pretty great, and I'm really happy with it. And I hope to see you guys next time I'm down here in the basement, or next time I make a cool prop.